What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another live stream for you guys, another action-packed live stream, and we're going to start off talking about the legend that is Son Heung-min. Look, it's obvious that his time at Spurs is nearing an end, whether that be this summer or next summer. Unfortunately, it's coming to that time with Sonny, and there's been various news reports on him today, and look, let me read them out, and then you guys can make of it what you will. Where Sammy Mockbell says that Son is unlikely to leave Spurs before the club's pre-season tour, as his departure would likely lead to complications with the tour organisers, as his involvement in various activities whilst on tour will have already been agreed. With Tottenham committed to delivering on those plans, there is a sense that Son's future is likely to drag into the latter stages of the transfer window. Gary Jacob has done an article, and he says that Tottenham are willing to sell Son, but he is unlikely to leave before the club's lucrative pre-season tour in his native South Korea in August. The club are commercially contracted for the captain to play in the friendly against Newcastle at the Seoul World Cup Stadium on August the 3rd. And he goes on to say that Tottenham exercised the option to extend Son's contract until 2026 in January, and had wanted him to commit himself to a longer deal, largely owing to the commercial value, but he refused. They settled on a one-year extension to avoid losing him for free. In 2023, Son turned down a move to Al Ittihad, who were willing to pay Tottenham £55 million and had offered him a 4-year contract worth about £25 million. So yeah, it looked like in January Spurs were willing to put him on a long contract, but Son weren't up for it.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard conflicting reports. He's saying that, but then there's other reports saying that Son did want a longer deal and Tottenham were willing to give it to him. But it kind of makes more sense that what Gareth Jacob is saying, I think, because how he's been talking, what he said about him wanting to stay to win that trophy. That kind of tells me that it's more likely that Son maybe is the one who was kind of refusing, and maybe having been in the club for 10 years, although he loves the club, he's a legend here, I think he's happy here. When you've been in a club for that long, even if you're doing really well, sometimes you just want a new challenge. If you look at Trent, I'm sure he's got no problem with Liverpool, and even though they're winning titles, he just wanted a new challenge. He's been there for 20 years. And he maybe didn't want to be a one-club man. He wanted to try a new experience, and maybe Son might feel that at some point. And maybe it might be this summer. Maybe it might be when his contract runs out. Interestingly, they're saying he's going to be here till for sure till after the pre-season tour. That probably means he's definitely going to be here for the Super Cup, I assume, as well, because it's a very quick turnaround between the end of the pre-season tour and the Super Cup.
Yeah, unless there's a deal in place that they do the deal before the tour. And then he goes as soon as he comes back.
I think given that the Super Cup is so close, I think he'll want to might as well, and a chance to win another trophy. Why leave before that can happen?
Yeah.
So he might as well be. I think it's a good chance he'll be here for that, and I think it's a good chance this might rumble on. Us trying to get the best deal. I think what will be very telling is the business we do. If we're going to go for maybe another left winger. Huh?
Was that a pun?
Wasn't a pun, but I think it might be interesting to see. Do we go for another left winger potentially if there's links to one, and if there's deals in place for one? Is that going to be an indication of where Sonny's future lies before the end of the summer? Which I think we'll see indications of. Will we wait to sell Son before dipping into that market?
I think so.
Or will we buy someone with the view of, because we've done that before, sign play. I know most of the time we wait to sell, but remember the whole Bale transfer, we signed all of them were signed before Bale went.
Yeah.
And then he went on deadline day.
It's a different case though, because with Sonny and with the problems with the squad, I'm not sure what kind of squad you can take to the Super League or to the Super Cup, but I assume it's probably something similar to our European squad for the Champions League. So if that is the case, can we fit in a new signing and Son at the same time? So if Son is still here for the Super Cup and we've already replaced him beforehand, then surely both those players won't be able to fit into the squad for the Super Cup.
Yeah, but I'm thinking maybe we could have someone lined up. We could have someone brought in maybe even after the Super Cup, but then Son still being here, but then he might move on deadline day or something when we get a good fee. We'll get the fee that Levy wants from him. But for me, I still think Son, I think he has a lot more to give. I do. I think under Frank, And maybe a conversation with Frank can change it all and can really convince him, just give us another year, I'll really convince you that you can be a big part of this team, and really convince him, look, if you stay here, I'm going to get you scoring goals regularly at this level again, more regularly than he was last season. And I really think he could fit really well with what Frank probably wants to do. And Frank is very good at kind of getting the best out of his forward players and using their strengths to his advantage. And I think he'll be looking at a player like Son, who we know the quality he's got. And even in a bad season like last season, still got 22 goal contributions in all competitions. So this guy is still getting goal contributions regularly, even in a bad season. So I think Frank will look at that, and I think he's still in good condition, although, you know, maybe he doesn't have the pace he used to. He's still in a very good physical condition. I think he's kept himself, maybe the drinking after the Europa League final hadn't helped, but apart from that, obviously he's a professional. He's kept himself in brilliant condition. So I think Frank will want to keep him and want to use him. But sometimes that's just football, you know. Even if all those things are true, he still might look at it and think, I just want a new challenge, I want a new environment, and maybe he wants to change, and that just might be the case. But I think a lot will be decided after that conversation with Frank.
I think when you're looking at Sonny and when you're looking at the values that he has to the team, I very much liken it. I don't think he's at that level, but a Mo Salah, right? Where Mo Salah had that clear and frank conversation with Arne Slot before the season started. So he said to him, don't get me doing all this running, all this defensive work, and I'll bag you goals down the other end. And I feel that that would be the exact same case for Sonny next season. We all know that Sonny, you know, he just ran way too much last season. And if he had that conversation, I know it doesn't fit into Ange's philosophy, but if Ange was willing to give up on that and kind of make reservations and make tactical tweaks around that and just keep Sonny up there where he's most dangerous, Son would have seen a much better season and probably would have a few less injuries potentially. So I feel like if that conversation was to have with Thomas Frank, then you would see a much better Sonny next season. I really believe that. I think he could be so clinical for us, be in the danger zone a lot more without doing the extensive work and getting tired fairly easily and being overworked. So I just felt like he was overplayed and overworked last season in Ange's system, and it didn't do him the world of good. And you saw him putting in laboured displays a lot last season, and I think that was, you know, a key component of it, to be honest. So yeah, I still think Son bundles the amount of quality. I think a lot of people were judging him on last season, which is fair enough because that's all you've got to go on. But also you've got to look at how much of an impact he did have positively in the season as well. And if you get him just not doing as much work of the dog work that he did last season and just get him in that money zone, he'll provide for us consistently. And you need to manage his minutes next season if he is here, and we've signed up Tell now. Manor Solomon is going to be given the pre-season to prove his worth. We've got Odebear who can play on the left-hand side as well. So what worries me about getting rid of Son, they're going to look at Manor, and if Manor does impress in pre-season, are they going to go next season with just Manor and Tell as our left wingers? And I like Manor and I like Tell, but neither of them have anywhere close to the quality that a Son has right now. So that worries me massively.
Yeah, but you're thinking if they're getting a fee, hopefully they'll reinvest it. But yeah, I get your point. Solomon's obviously coming back, had a great season in the Championship, and there was reports that we might want to take a good look at him and see if he is any use to us. Now, I do think, for me, I think there's a good chance we still look to sell him, and I think there's a good chance we know we can get a good fee for him. And if we get a fee for Son and a fee for Solomon, all of a sudden you've got a decent amount you can reinvest in a new player. But knowing how Frank operates, knowing how Tottenham operate, if they see a player in Solomon and they think, okay, there's a player there that we can actually use and there's no need to reinvest it because I can just get the best out of him and I think he can really do a job, then they might go ahead with that. And I agree. If you look on the face of it, Tell and Solomon, is that enough to go into a Champions League campaign and Premier League campaign thinking we have the quality to really push on? I think the jury's definitely out on that, for sure. I would hope we reinvest it. I would still, yeah. For me, right now, if it was up to me, if Son was to go, I'd still sell Solomon and try and reinvest it. Because, again, we need players we can sell. We need sellable assets, and he's one of them. And that's pure profit as well when it comes to PSR. There's a lot going for a deal. And also there's a lot of interest in him. Whereas for, I just think if we were to keep him on, he would have to basically, we're relying on him to be top level. And look, at Championship he was great, but he's just never shown it consistently in Premier League yet. Even at Fulham, he had a good period, but never really showed it consistently. And at Tottenham, obviously he hasn't had a fair crack. It's hard to judge his time at Tottenham, but obviously had a bad injury. He only played 5 games, but those 5 games were a bit hit and miss. But yeah, it's hard to judge him on that. So could be depending on how he performs. But yeah, I would definitely look to sign another one. But whether the club do, yeah, I agree. It's up in the air.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the only player that, not the only player, but the player that I'm looking at to come in with the right amount of quality if Son was to leave is someone like an Eberechi Eze, who can play that inside forward role under Frank. He can play the number 10 role as well and rotate with the likes of Maddison and Decky, particularly if Decky in the first bit of the season ain't at his sharpest. So I think if we were to sell Son and bring in an Eze, I think that would be acceptable. I don't know. Are we going to go and actually put 60 million down on the table up front for an Eberechi, even if we are to sell Son?
Well, if we're not getting Mbeumo, probably not.
You know what I mean? So
or maybe it'll be
feeling.
Semenyo. Maybe it'll be Semenyo.
Yeah, maybe. But I've just got a horrible feeling that we're going to sell Son and not bring in another left winger and just go in with Solomon and Tell. I've just got a horrible feeling about it.
I think we'll sign another winger. Whether it be a left winger is another question. Obviously, there's all the talk about Mbeumo. And by the way, Frank, in terms of how we were talking about playing, how you want to play Son, there is a bit of a template there with how he did play Mbeumo. Because Mbeumo, I'm not saying he did no defensive work, but he very much was hanging forward a bit and was waiting to transition and waiting for his moments to pounce. And it'll be very similar to how I think he'll play with Sonny. So I think there's a template there. But yeah, I think we will sign another winger. Obviously, we've got Brennan at the moment. We've got Tell there. We've got Odebear. And obviously Sonny. So if we were to sell Son, we definitely will have to bring in another one, I think. But whether it be a right winger or a left winger, I'm not 100. I don't know if we
It has to be a left
two.
winger, surely. It has to be a left winger if we're selling Son.
Unless we have Odebear and Tell both on the left, and then you get Brennan and a right winger.
I thought the great value of having Tell and Odebear is that they can play together and link up well together because of their partnership.
Yeah, and you can do that, hopefully. Hopefully, you can try and find ways to get them together, but maybe that's how we see it. And obviously Mikey Moore's there as well, and maybe you have a Semenyo there who can play both ways. He can play right and left, and then you have Odebear who can kind of play right and left, and then you have Tells on the left and Brennan on the right.
But still, do you think that's good enough? Like, let's say we sign a Semenyo, right, and Son goes. Like, we should be signing a Semenyo with Son even staying here. You know what I mean? Like, so let's say Son goes and we only sign Semenyo now. Is that good enough to have Tell, Odebear, Moore, Semenyo, and Brennan Johnson as our wing options? I don't think it is.
Yeah, probably not. But I don't think we're going to sign 2.
Well, that's the problem then. We need to do our utmost to keep Sonny at the club then, because he's the one with the real quality. And if you have those wingers I mentioned plus Son, would you not think Son is the most dangerous out of those 6 that we've got at the club? Like, we have to do our utmost, in my opinion, to keep Son, because he's got so much quality. And if we manage him the way I said at the beginning of the video, not getting him do not getting him do the defensive work too much, and to manage his minutes, I'm telling you, you'll see a much better Son than what you saw last season.
I agree, but if we look at the squad numbers, and right now we have how many 5 wingers? If you're looking at the squad numbers, you might have to make a difficult decision if you want to bring one in, potentially, because we've got 5, which I mentioned, and if you bring in Semenyo, let's say you say, okay, if we should be keeping Son and getting a Semenyo, let's say we bring one in, that's 6. And we're really going to go into the season with 6 wingers. It's not, and then one of them has to leave, and then you're looking at which one of them's going to leave, and the only option really is Son. Odebear's not going to go. Tell's just signed. Johnson ain't going anywhere. Obviously, Semenyo would have just signed, so it kind of just leaves Son.
Yeah.
It could be a choice between signing a new winger and keeping Son.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a very uncomfortable conversation, but I still think I would prefer to keep Son, to be honest. I really would, because I think even with Semenyo coming to the club, I still think Son's the best winger at the club. So you're downgrading your squad to accommodate for Son leaving, or to accommodate for a new winger who's not as good as what we've got, which downgrades the squad.
But by the way, we're saying it's not good enough.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
This is a great conversation.
Because a lot of the wingers that we have are like up-and-coming players who are not, great right now, but the hope is potentially in a year or two's time they could be.
Or maybe next
really
season
good.
under Frank.
Maybe, but it's not a cert, is it?
No, nothing's a cert in football, but you never know when players are going to explode. We know, but I think you say in a year's time, but Tel and Odebev have just had that year, haven't they? Obviously, Odebev's been injured a lot. Tel's
been here since January.
Tel's been here since January. He's had 6 months to acclimatise. Maybe with the pre-season under Frank, and at the start of the next season, they'll be in a lot better position.
It's a massive question mark, though, isn't it? Massive.
Yeah, it is.
Whereas I don't think it is a question about Son if you don't get him doing the kind of defensive duties and you manage his minutes. I don't think that is a question mark. I think that's much more of a cert than it is than these young players. They're going to absolutely shine next season.
Because he's done it week in, week out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we would have both of them in the squad, but we're thinking about would it be a cert? Okay, if we bring in a Semenyo, is he a cert?
Is Semenyo a cert?
Right, to be good next season.
More of a cert than I think than a Teller and Odebear.
Yeah, but that's fine. But they're gonna Teller and Odebear are gonna be here next season, so it's not about whether they're in the squad or not. It's about do we sell Son while he sells a value, and he's obviously wrong side of 30 for a younger player who maybe Semenyo potentially right now. He hasn't obviously proven anywhere near to be as good as Son, but maybe in a new system, more quality around and all that kind of stuff, and he's younger. Maybe he is more of a cert to be better next season when Son didn't have a great season. Or would next season is it more certain that Son will get back to his level than Semenyo maybe improving on what he did at Bournemouth?
He might improve on what he's done at Bournemouth, but he's not going to improve to a level of what Son can output next season, in my opinion. So if you're going to look to bring in another winger and it's basically Son or another winger and that's our only option, you keep Son, let him run down to the end of his contract, then you bring in another winger at the end of his contract.
What about if it's Mbeumo?
If it's Mbeumo, yeah, it's a different kettle of fish, because I think he's proven that he can get 19, 20 goals in a season, and he's obviously got the longevity as well. But again, like I probably would just about do the Mbeumo, but I do it with a very heavy heart. A very heavy heart. Like, I just don't want to see Son leave the club this summer. I think it will be to our detriment more than anything.
Yeah, and unless you sell Richie, and maybe either Son is like a backup striker, or and you can get another winger in, or you get a kind of sell
Brennan
Richie
is the backup striker,
or you sell Richie, or Brennan's a backup striker, and you sign another winger there. That's maybe then you're not. Then you're basically saying you sell Richie and you're happy with Brennan to play that role rather than bringing another striker like this guy will be linked with.
Yeah.
I can't remember how did you say his name.
Or you do keep these players, and one of these players has to be left out the Champions League squad.
And who would that be?
I mean, out of all the wingers that I'm looking at right now that are in the squad, it'll probably be Odebear. He would probably be the first on my list.
Just can't see Frank doing that. I just can't see him
Some
doing
hard
it.
decisions are going to have to have made. I mean,
know.
there's an article saying that Frank wants to, do a big revamp of the squad this summer. I just don't see how that's possible.
Unless I agree, unless there's players who we all want to keep who are going to be going.
Yeah.
Or, I guess, surprise sales, should we say.
I've got a feeling now. I do have a feeling Son is going to leave this summer. I do kind of like my mind keeps going toing and froing from it, and it's going to be so hard to see him go. But I just get that feeling, the way he's speaking, all these news stories in the press. I just got a feeling he is going to go this summer.
I think his mind is definitely looking at leaving. That's what it tells me. His mind, if his mind was set on staying, I think he'd be a lot more assured about being here next year. But the fact that he's saying we don't know what's going to happen, the fact that he's not saying with confidence about being excited under Frank, working under Frank, all this kind of stuff. He's not saying any of these things. He's talking about, let's see what happens next season. Whatever happens, I'm going to try my best. It's like, it doesn't really sound like he's staying.
Yeah.
It doesn't really sound like he's committed to another project, or he's like committed to being here. And it doesn't mean he won't stay. You never know. Things change very quickly in football. Maybe one conversation with Frank, he's convinced, you know what, I'm going to be banging another 20 goals next season. I want to be here for another year. That could happen. But right now, I think he just won the trophy. There's definitely a feeling right now at Tottenham with lots of change this summer, of a bit of finality, with a lot of people moving on, a lot of summer of change, and maybe just Son's feeling like is he going to be part of that, and maybe he's feeling that.
Yeah, and look, and it goes back to January. He didn't want to commit to a longer term contract than a further year. So I think like if he is going to stay, I think he'll still be the club captain. He'll put his heart and soul into it. You know what Son's like. He's the model professional, and I don't think any sort of rumblings from him downgrading in performance and stuff. So it's basically all down to him whether he stays or goes. Because I think if it's true and the rumours are saying that Spurs are only looking for around 30 million, I think you'll get those kind of offers for him this summer.
Yeah. So
it's all down to Sonny and where his head's at. Does he want to move on? Are the clubs that come in for him, does he actually want to go? Like the rumours are like Fenerbahce and Saudi. Like, does he want to go to Fenerbahce? Does he want to go to Saudi?
Or would you rather just spend another year at Tottenham rather than going to those clubs now?
And then if he does spend another year at Tottenham, he gets a free transfer. He's going to get a big signing on fee. You're probably going to get clubs within Europe wanting to get him as well. So for Son's, if I'm trying to like get into Son's mind a little bit, surely for him it's better to stick around one more year, and you've got so many more options available to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unless other clubs come in for him.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see who's coming in for him. But right now, with the offers on the table, I think there's a good chance he stays. But if other bigger, better clubs are playing at a better level, or unless Jose gets in his ear and convinces him to go there, but I think more often
Jose's
than not,
probably calling him every day. Knowing Jose.
But I think he's mainly going to take players from a higher level, teams from a higher level to really convince him. I think if a Champions League team comes in next season, any Champions League team comes in from a top 5 league, I think there's a good chance he might have his head turned.
Yeah. And will there be those offers this summer? Will a club be willing to spend 30 million? I mean, I don't see why not, because he's still got so much more quality, and I think whoever gets him are a very lucky team. Mm-hmm. Very lucky team, because he'll probably hit the ground running at any team he gets at and probably get a minimum of 20 goal contributions.
Mm-hmm.
Minimum.
Yeah, I think 30 million is a good price for him.
100%. So, look.
And you got if you're being cynical, you got all the commercial stuff that comes with him as well. You get a brand new fan base basically coming with you if he joins your club. So that obviously plays a part in these decisions, unfortunately, these days with football clubs.
Well, particularly with him. He's like a god in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, any club that signs Son, the commercial value will definitely be in the thinking as well. There's no two ways about it. For sure, it'll come into the thinking. So, yeah, having said that, there probably will be clubs that are willing to put the money down on the table for him this summer, which tells me probably even more that there's most likely that he might end up leaving once the tour's over and done with.
But maybe you'll have a Super Cup to celebrate.
Bloody well hope so.
That'd be nice. If the Super Cup's his last game, and if he lifts that'll be incredible. Or maybe he won't. Maybe he'll want the Europa League final to be his last game. There's a chance of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, Europa League final. I mean, do you not think he'll want to test his wits against Lee Kang-in?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I would like to see him have a crack at that Super Cup. But look, football's a very fluid situation. If history,
one chat with Thomas Frank, and he could be bang on it next season.
If history's ever shown me anything, nothing's ever decided or sealed until it's over the line. So long as the situation's open, anything's possible.
What's
so you
your
never
gut
really
telling
know.
You?
My gut is telling me he's going to be leaving before the end of the window. That's what my gut's telling me.
Yeah, me as well, unfortunately. And it's going to be such a sad day when Sonny leaves. And I hope as well, like, do we have any home friendlies? We don't have any home friendlies scheduled, do we?
No.
Because we need, like, he can't just go, like, without a proper send-off from this club. And if we don't have a home friendly scheduled in, like, how is he going to get that send-off? He's not.
Don't know, yeah.
So maybe we need to schedule like a testimonial for him before he goes, like a pre-season friendly or something. Because if he goes without that send-off, it's just another legend that leaves this club without the fans being able to show their appreciation.
Yeah. Sorry, there's a comment I'm laughing at. No
Who
worries.
is it? Crazy Rat.
No, well, he's also funny. Just someone saying, Ben, your analysis is off and you smell. Just that bit was making me laugh. You have no idea, mate. You have no idea.
Oh, good. Big up, Tony. So, yeah, look, that's the situation on Sonny.
Yeah, look, whatever happens, if he leaves, no, we know there's, as much as it'll be hard, is what it is at this point. He's won that trophy and he leaves an absolute legend. If he stays, we get one more year of Son and happy days. So either way, we have to just move on from it.
Yeah, look, we knew this day was going to come at some point. And whether it comes this summer or next summer, it's not going to make it any easier. That's for sure. But let us know in the comment section below your thoughts. Would you think it's time for Sonny this summer? And would you be happy if we replace Son with someone like Antoine Semenyo? Is that good enough to kind of alleviate the goal contributions that Son brings us every single year? Like, even in a poor season last year, still was top of the goal of assist charts.
He was for Tottenham.
So do let us know in the comment section below.
Just been a update from this guy, Sebastian Vidal. I don't know who he is.
What's he said?
Journalist, football coach for Foot Mercato. He says Tottenham increasingly confident of signing Antoine Semenyo after being snubbed by Mbeumo. Spurs have intensified talks with Bournemouth's wingers entourage despite a price tag set at 60 million.
60 million?
Yeah.
Is he reliable?
No idea. He's got 12,000 followers.
12,000 followers.
Sebastian,
so he's saying that
from Mercato,
it's a likely deal.
They're increasingly confident.
Increasingly confident. I see. Look, like I said, I like Semenyo. I really like Semenyo, and I think that Frank could do really well with him. And I think from the levels that he's shown at Bournemouth last season, Frank can take that up a couple of notches. I do believe that. So I welcome Semenyo to Spurs. I really do.
Yeah, I think he's a player who's, I think, not similar to Mbeumo in his style, but in the fact that he's came to the Premier League, he did all right, and he's been improving year on year, and he's been doing quite well. And last season, I think, how many goals did he get? Was it 11 goals in the end? He got quite a few goals last season, Semenyo, but he obviously plays in a system under Iraola, which is a lot of chaos, a lot of helter-skelter, and very much attacking transitions, pressing relentlessly. And within that kind of context, he was able to kind of get the ball a lot, run at his defenders a lot, get loads of shots off, that kind of stuff. And he was kind of wasteful, but because of the chaos that they kind of make Bournemouth, he was able to kind of receive the ball a lot. He got 11 goals and 5 assists, so 16 goal contributions last season, which is a pretty good amount. But he's also, I guess, in the way we're going to play next season, he would have to adjust a few things. He's going to have to be a bit more effective instead of being just this guy who picks up the ball and has like 5 shots a game and 2 of them are on target, and doesn't really create too many chances with good quality crossing, that kind of stuff. But I think he's got the quality to do that. He just would have to calm his game down a touch, be a bit more like Mbeumo, pick your moment a bit more, rather than I feel like every time he gets the ball, he feels like he has to dribble, he has to shoot, he has to do that. Whereas you have to be a bit more different. He'll be a bit smarter when he comes to Tottenham. But the guy is quality. I think we can't deny that.
Yeah, and look, I think Frank can get him on the same trajectory that he got Mbeumo. Mbeumo was a bit like that as well in his earlier days.
Yeah, he was.
Where, very erratic, shooting a lot, maybe scoring, 0.5 or 1 out of the 5-6 shots that he was taking. And under the guide of Thomas Frank, he's become a lot more clinical and gets into positions where he's more likely to score than not. And I feel like Semenyo needs to go in that same trajectory.
And he can play both sides, which is really helpful. He's quite comfortable on either side. I'd be really interested to see what kind of trajectory he'll take under Thomas Frank.
I think it will only be an upward tick for Semenyo. I've been saying it all along. I think the majority of wingers that we've been linked with, Frank can do a lot with, and will get them playing a lot better than. But it might take some time. It's not going to happen straight away.
Yeah, true. And Yeah, 100%. But he gives us a different profile, I guess, Semenyo. Because Odegaard is kind of a player who does like to dribble, but he doesn't shoot much. Whereas he will try and create. Whereas Semenyo is a kind of guy who try and dribble and shoot a bit more. I feel like Tell, bit of a mix. He kind of likes to run in behind a bit, but also likes the ball to feet and likes to also create that separation, get shots off. Son's more of a running behind kind of guy who does a bit of dribbling. Obviously, Brennan is back post merchant. So we have different kind of profiles with Semenyo.
Did Semenyo, when what's his name was injured, Evan Nilsson, did he play up front at all?
He played a bit. He kind of played a bit up front. I wouldn't say he was played that much there.
Yeah, it was just when Evan Nilsson was injured, right? Or suspended. Yeah, but look, Semenyo...
They were trying, I think it was mainly Utara, if I remember.
Yeah, you're right, actually. Did they ever play a 2 up top?
God, I don't know every game, but might have done.
Look, he's a very good player, Semenyo. Got a lot of potential as well. How old is he? He's like 26 now, isn't he?
25, I think. 25.
25. So I think you're getting him at a good age. You know, still scope to improve. Shown that he can do it in the Premier League. I just feel he needs a manager really to really just channel the good attributes that he does have, and I think Frank's perfect for that.
And he's been in the Premier League 3 seasons now. In the first season, 1 goal, no assists. Second season, 8 goals, 2 assists, and last season, 11 goals, 5 assists. So it's been an upward trajectory for him, season on season.
Yeah, decent. So look, Antoine Semenyo. There's been some links saying that Spurs, what was it? Intensifying talks now for Semenyo. Increasingly confident. That's the one. Brian's going to love these buzzword bingos.
I don't know if this guy's reliable. Does anyone know in the chat? Sebastian Vidal. I don't know if this guy's reliable or not. Let us know in the comments. Should we be believing him?
Sebastian Vidal sounds very reliable.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if anyone knows in the comments.
But we'll have to see how talks progress. There was a report yesterday about... I can't pronounce his name. What's his name? The guy from yesterday? God. Yeah, I can't remember. Isn't that how to say his name? Kalimwendo. Yeah, Arnau Kalimwendo. So, I mean, if you believe these reports, and we are going for Kalimwendo and Semenyo, bloody hell, it's going to be a bit of a mouthful for the commentators next season. Kalimwendo to Semenyo. But that would suggest to you Richarlison and Sonny out. Kalimwendo and Semenyo in.
Yeah.
That's what it suggests.
That's what it sounds to me.
Yeah. So let us know your thoughts on that in the comment section below. Do you want to see Antoine Semenyo at Tottenham Hotspur next season? Is that good enough? You know, if we sell Sonny, we sell Richarlison, but in Kalimwendo and Semenyo, is that good enough? Because that will be our forward line next season. You won't see any more attacking options come to the club. And that will be, that would be a bit disappointing that we don't get Eze. Because we've been linked so heavily with Eze over the past couple of years, and I really thought it was a deal that Spurs would look to get done. But if we bring in these 2 players, Eze ain't coming.
Yeah, I can't see it. I think it's unlikely. Unless, again, it's a surprise sale or like Decky or something. I just can't see it.
Would you take that, though, Decky, to go for Eze?
Yeah, maybe.
I would.
Yeah, probably would.
I definitely would. I think just Eze, the quality that he has, the goal contributions that he can get, we've just never seen that from Decky.
Eze's so good. I love Eze.
So, if you're watching, we can't even sell Decky now anyway because of his injury. So, that's also not going to happen. So, Semenyo and Kalimwendo for Son and Richarlison. Is that what you'd like to see happen this summer? Next up, we're going to look at some super chats. So we've got one from Crazy Rat. And he says, Sim, I made more money. Tribal Chief Sim.
Big up to Crazy Rat.
One with a Korean name says, thank you for your concern about Sonny's transfer. Big up to you. And just one name his YouTube account. It says, 23 goal contributions in 46 games for Son, despite Ange's tactics, which don't suit his style of play. Give him a season under Frank. Yeah, I mean, I would.
I'd like to see it.
I would, but I don't think it's our decision. I think it's just down to Sonny. And judging by the way he speaks, I think he feels like his time could be up here.
Yeah, I think that's just... Sometimes that's how it works in football. Sometimes it's just the right time, and it might be this summer. Regardless of whether we think he's good or can do it. I don't think that's even the issue. It's more about does he want a new challenge kind of thing.
Yeah. So that's that. We're going to go and react to a few things on social media. We've got some stuff. We've got some quotes from Lloris. We've got some reactions to the Tel transfer and the Calimundo links as well. So if we go to X, first up are these quotes from Hugo Lloris. We all saw, I don't know if we all saw it, but Hugo Lloris played last night in the Club World Cup against Chelsea.
Looking at the crowd, I don't know how many people saw it, to be honest.
I turned it on for 5 minutes and I was like, nah, this is boring. And I turned it off. That was the only 5 minutes I've seen of the Club World Cup so far.
Not missing much.
So, yeah, I mean, it's not a competition that's really grabbed my attention as of yet. But he has been speaking about Spurs on a few different topics. And first of all, he's speaking on Thomas Frank. And he says he's a well-respected coach. He did an amazing job with Brentford. Now, like every coach, when you arrive in a new club, there is a new environment which you have to embrace. But if the club decided to appoint him, it's probably because they decide it is the best for the future. So, I mean, really much in that.
I think that's what they did decide. Look, we've been, we've litigated the Ange sacking and Frank appointment to death. But look, I am excited for Frank. I think he could be a good manager for us. I'm hoping he's going to do a good job. I really like him as manager. Doesn't change my opinion on the sacking of Ange, but look, we have to move on from it and let's all get behind Frank. And I think that's the club have gone in this direction, and I'm really excited for what Frank can do.
He was talking about Ange's sacking as well, and he was asked if he was surprised by it. And he said, no, nothing surprises me in football, but at the same time, it's hard to say something because I am on the other side. I don't know what happened inside the club, so it's really hard for me to judge. If they made this decision, it's because they believe it's another option which is better for the future of the club. I mean, he's such a media trained. He's so media trained.
Doesn't say a lot. But he was an inside, but you can't give Sonny a call. What's going on there, mate? What's going on in that dressing room? Why are you 17th, but you won Europa League? What's going on there?
Hugo, past captain of this football club for how many years? And you're telling me he doesn't know what's going on inside?
Come on. Davis, give Davis a call.
Exactly. No,
wait, what was he there for a bit under Ange? For 6 months, right?
Yeah.
He was there for 6 months under Ange. Come on, he didn't give us a bit of an insight.
He didn't play once, though, did he?
No, he didn't play, but he was there on the training ground.
Yeah. And then he was asked about Spurs winning the Europa League, and he says, I'm really happy for the club. We ran many years after this trophy, and finally they got it, and I think they deserve it. Hopefully it will make their shoulders a little bit lighter for the future, and I think it's also the moment to build on this success for Spurs. Even if I'm not a Spurs player, I still follow the news, the team, and the results.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the main thing, hopefully next season, or going forward now, having got that trophy monkey off our back, the desperation, I think, that the fan base and the club just had of winning something that we hadn't done for so long. I think it definitely held us back in some ways. Over these last few years that, made us go in directions we shouldn't have gone in, I think, as a club. Definitely over the last 7-8 years. So hopefully now that we've got that off our back, we can start, going back to doing things in a better way and with better, clearer thinking, I think. Because I think it clouded our judgment a lot, this kind of, desperation for a trophy.
Yeah, I agree. So that's that. Let's get on to the next thing, which from BLTHFC, which says Ren player equals a good player, and that was under the links of Calimundo. Yeah,
the links of Calimundo obviously set the social media alight yesterday with out of nowhere, all of a sudden we were quite heavily linked with this Calimundo striker. Everyone's been looking into him, but Ren, they do have a great record, don't they? Tel, I think, came from Ren. They had Doué came from Ren. They've got a good record.
Spence played there.
Spence was there for a bit, but they've got a good record of bringing through some real great talent, Ren.
Yeah.
So could we be getting another one of these players, potentially?
Well, let's hope so. And he scored a lot of goals last year.
Wissa came from Ren as well.
Oh, did Wissa come from there as well?
Wissa came from Ren.
All right. We're getting another one off the conveyor belt, is what you're telling me.
They're one of these clubs who just consistently bring talent.
But he actually started at PSG. Didn't he?
Calimundo, yeah. He did. It's true.
So he didn't come through the ranks there, but they signed him off the back of good form at Lens, because Lens loaned him off PSG, and then Rennes loaned him off PSG and then bought him off the back of it.
Yeah, they've got a good talent scout though, Rennes. They seem to find good talent a lot. And also, Rennes didn't have a particularly great season last season, and he still was able to score lots of goals and do really well.
Jeremy Doku as well.
Doku, yeah. It's another one.
Someone says Rafinha. I'm not sure which Rafinha.
Rafinha. Was he at Rennes?
Usman Dembele.
Camavinga.
Yeah, Camavinga. Rafinha. Wow. Petr Cech apparently played there.
Yes. Chelsea
Sylvain
signed him,
Wiltord, Johan Gukuf. So a lot of players.
Look at that talent.
Yeah, Rafinha that plays for Barcelona now. Played for
Wow. What talent they seem to get there.
Mbaye Niang, Abdoulaye Doucouré.
Edouard Mendy from Chelsea. Maybe Sarr. Yeah.
A lot of players.
Yeah, they Rennes have a really good eye for... they're like the Brighton of the French
All right,
League.
I'm sold. Bring him in, mate. Callum Wendo, come on.
They're like the Brighton of the French League, basically.
This was a funny one from a few weeks ago. Robbie Williams was playing at the Emirates, and we thought we may as well react to it because we haven't as of yet. And at the Emirates, he asked everyone, how far away are Arsenal from a European trophy? He trolled the whole of that stadium, and there would have been a lot of Arsenal fans there. And then he said, about 5 miles? He is fully COYS, Robbie Williams.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Ever since he said that he always wanted one of his songs to be used as a terrorist song, and then we obviously did the bit I'm loving Big Andrew Said, and he was absolutely loving that, and he did the video singing it. And then Spurs sent him a shirt, and he opened it, and he was like, "Oh my God, I'm so fully COYS." And now look at him on stage trolling Arsenal fans
at the Emirates.
Come on, he's an honorary Id now, Robbie Williams.
Yeah. Next up is from MW, and he says, "Good player." And this is a comparison between Wissa and Callum Wendo, and they do profile very similar.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of reason why. We're looking at him, I think, maybe as an alternative to Wissa, because he's also a player apparently who started a bit earlier in his career. I know he's still young, he's like 23, but he was a bit wider, and now he plays predominantly as a striker, which Wissa does as well. And he's got a variety of finishes, and and obviously Wissa's a lot older than him, but I think his hold-up plays a bit better, and he's very two-footed as well, can finish on his right or left foot. He's a very interesting prospect, Callum Wendo. Very interesting prospect, and hasn't been mentioned too much, but he's obviously got 17 goals last season in Ligue 1 at 23 for a side who finished 13th.
10 the year before as well.
10 the year before, and for Lens as well, he had pretty decent goal contributions for Lens. So he has a young player, and obviously came through the PSG academy as well. So maybe this is one where, one of these players again, which we're looking at, that could be undervalued. And maybe we can if we get him for like a cheapish fee compared to some of the other strikers we're linked to, maybe we could surprise a lot of people.
It's also good as well, like how different he profiles to like a Dom Solanke, and gives us a lot of variation in that number 9 role. And I think they could play well together as well in terms of what they both offer to the team.
I agree.
Next up, and this is what pretty much the whole Spurs fan base were doing yesterday. We were channeling our inner Danny Rose on Google, saying, because Loic Tanzi just broke this news saying Spurs are intensifying talks, whatever he said. And literally, I think every single Spurs fan took to Google yesterday. It's like, who the hell is Callum Wendo? And now everyone's like, if we don't get Callum Wendo, that's it. Tear the whole thing apart.
The Callum Wendo comps were on a few hundred views before yesterday, and now they're on hundreds of thousands. Those comps are doing well.
Literally.
100%. I watched a few of those comps already, and I watched one where every single whose goals in Ligue 1, all 50 of them. Good finishes. Good finishes in there.
Suddenly he's like the guy, we have to get this guy.
Just heard of him, and now if we don't sign him, it's a disgrace.
Yeah. It does have a bit of a Gift Orban vibes.
Very Orban vibes. It's an absolute disgrace if we don't get him over the line. We're going to hear tomorrow, Spurs, they're asking too much, and we're going to, leave me, we're going to be disgraced. How can you not bring him in? And it's going to be a player like we mentioned 5 years from now. That Callum Wendo, we should have got that Callum Wendo 5 years ago.
Or it could be a Gift Orban.
Could be. Or we're going to sign him. It's going to be another Ng and Nkudu and one of these for Werner.
Yeah, definitely. Marcelo says that last time I made fun of us being linked to an unknown player, it was Kavicha. So let's hope this brother is good.
Yeah. We don't want to miss out on another Kavicha, that's for sure.
Literally, the Georgian Messi.
Oh, God.
And we all laughed when we said the Georgian Messi. I hear there's Georgian
No, we looked at it,
Messi.
this is so classic Tottenham. It was signing these nobodies. This guy from, I think he was playing it. Who was he? Ruben Kazan at the time. And we were like, this guy, what is this guy all about? And then, yeah, he turned out to be the Kavicha Kvaratskhelia that we all know now, who's an unbelievable player. So maybe we need to go by the Marcelo school of thinking.
Enzo1882 says 95% of this fan base don't know a single player outside of the Premier League and Champions League.
Wait, can you scroll? There you go. Yes. I think a lot of this fan base just only watch Tottenham, not even Premier League, just Tottenham. Like a lot of the fans who we see regularly on match days, no problem with it, but it's just that's how it is. A lot of fans who I see regularly on match days only really watch Tottenham. They don't even watch Premier League games.
Yeah,
they just focus on Tottenham.
Yeah, which
is fine.
Always going to be Tottenham first, and I think
I'm saying just Tottenham, not Tottenham first. Yeah,
I know.
A lot of them are Tottenham fans, not football fans.
Yeah, it's true. But look, no issues with that. It's just is what it is. Sussex Tottenham says he absolutely bang on the money 9 years ago and got torn a new one for saying it. Fast forward and we're still Googling, aren't we? Nothing will change because it never has.
That's the alternative view.
Yeah, and that's on the Danny Rose meme.
Yeah. Look, I don't like the criticism that... I understand it. I understand what you're trying to say, Danny Rose, and he was actually right. Like at the time where we were, second, and we had a real opportunity. If we signed some big players with a big name to up the quality, we could have really pushed first and second place. But I also don't like the criticism like, I hate signing players we have to Google, because it's almost like writing off a player before he's even kicked the ball just because you're not familiar with him. And like, I don't think that's also like right. I don't think that's also fair on the player that you're signing. And I know that a lot of them haven't worked out. Well, a few of them anyway haven't worked out. There's also ones that have. Not many people knew much about Luka Modric before we signed him.
Yeah.
And he turned out to be like Bergvall. Who the hell knew Bergvall was before we hijacked that move to Barca?
Yeah.
So it goes both ways.
Yeah, the problem is that back then when we were trying to kick on and we were signing the likes of Inji and Nkudu and everyone that we were signing, I mean, Lucas Moura was kind of like an established player at the time. I think most people knew who he was. But I felt like, we needed a certain profile of player to kick us on. And we never got it. And that's what he's always been alluding to. And the players that we've had to Google, the majority of them, a few of them turn out well, but the majority of them don't.
Yeah, but is that due to the fact we're signing players that you got to Google, or is it because of poor scouting? You know what I mean? Look at Brighton; they signed a bunch of players we have no idea who they are. They all turn out to be great.
Yeah, it's scouting. Yeah, of course it is.
You know what I mean? So it's not the fact that we don't know much about these players; more the fact that the guys who scouting weren't very good.
Yeah,
I guess.
But you can only go on what you've been given at Tottenham, and we go on how our club operates. And 8 times out of 10, when we sign these players that we have to Google, they don't turn out well. So we can only, if it's Tottenham the one making it, we're not a Brighton fan. We can't judge on Brighton signings. We can only judge on Tottenham signings.
Mm-hmm. But also players who are very well known have not turned out great as well.
Yeah, that's also true. So what's the
just never sign anyone. We have to sign a player that we kind of know.
Yeah,
they turn out good, like Ericsson. Like I don't know, players who we kind of know.
No, but now you go down like the data-driven model, which is so new at Tottenham Hotspur, which is crazy. And if it's under like Thomas Frank and Johan Lang, who's worked together and they're all singing off the same hymn sheet, and we sign a player like a Callum Wendo, like nobody knows, or any other player that we don't know, I trust it more than maybe what it was maybe under Pochettino.
Yeah. So let's hope that if we do go down this route of signing, and we might well do with Frank at the helm, but if we go down this route of signing players that maybe the fans aren't familiar with immediately, let's not jump on their backs just because we don't know them right away.
Yeah, but it's also fun just to always bring up that Danny Rose meme.
Of course. Yeah.
The next one is Johnny Be Good.
This is about Matisse Tell now.
Okay, and he said potential-wise he's great, but if we all the players we had played at their perceived potential, we'd have one of the best teams in Europe. We need players who don't just promise potential but actually realise it. So I'm in the he's good, but could be great camp. But when he and if so why? When if so why?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of different reactions to the Matisse Tell deal. I think he's a really good young player who 6 months ago, if you told me we're going to sign for 30 million, I would have been like, that's a fantastic deal, and I'll be super excited. Clearly, when he came into the team, there's a lot of reasons why maybe he didn't hit the ground running. But I think even within that, we saw some stuff from him. But there's a lot of reasons. Coming to a new league, the team are underperforming, all these different things. But I think if you just give him a bit of time, we're going to see next season he's going to be a lot better. I'm very, very confident of that. He's going to be a lot better. And I think people will be looking at 30 million as a bargain. That's what I reckon. But I understand as well, we are at a stage where can we afford to take that risk, continuously? And I get that argument.
Yeah. I mean, we've signed so many players that, could be world class in the next 5 years, but that doesn't help us in the near future when we've got Champions League football next season. And look, we've all been through our attacking options, and are they, players in the top caliber? I mean, they're not right now. That's just the reality of it. But could they be one day? Yeah, and I agree with you. I think Tell will show a lot more next season, particularly under Frank. I think he suits Frank a lot more than he suits Ange. And I feel like with a pre-season behind him, with tactics that more suit his play, I mean, I think he is a bit similar to Sade, and I think he can get a similar output of what he got out of Sade last season, this season for Tell. So I am quite positive about the Tell signing, and I was also a massive fan of Tell before he joined Tottenham. But yeah, last season did raise a lot of question marks for a lot of people, and it's quite rightly so.
He needs to just go on a run like Brennan did, like 5 goals in a row, and he'll be flying. I'm sure of it.
Tottenham Logic TV says it works out at £29.7 million, so could end up being a great signing, but he's still potential. So if we sign an Mbeumo also, then I'd be very happy. Tell alone isn't enough. Yeah, and of course, 100%. We need to sign someone alongside him that is kind of a bit older, Prem proven, and can come in and hit the ground running.
And hopefully he's also played Champions League as well.
Yeah, which Semenyo is not that.
And neither is Mbeumo. but I guess doesn't really, I guess playing Champions League is not a requirement, but would be nice. But I guess that bumps up the price a bit more potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree with that. I think Tell alone, you can't just rely on him becoming a world beater next season. You need to also try and sign up another more experienced guy.
Tom81 says, total waste of money, could be spent elsewhere on quality players we need, not for me. So he's not a fan of Matisse Tell.
No, see, I think he is a quality player, I think. He's one of these players where we're getting him for a good price at a good time, where he's still very young. And these are the kind of signings I don't mind us making. Yes, they shouldn't be the only signings, but I like this kind of signing. I think it's a good signing. I think he is quality.
I like the... I mean, I'm not as positive as you on the signing, but I do think he can be good for us. But he needs to come in when we've got... Like, if Son was still in his prime, right, and we bring in a Tell as an understudy for Son, I think that would be unbelievable. But because he's coming in and Son's potentially leaving the club, and if Son does leave and Semenyo comes in, Semenyo's... I mean, he can play left and right, but all of a sudden Tell... You're looking at Tell as one of the first options on the left wing, which, doesn't fill many people with too much confidence, and it's quite understandably why.
Yeah, I can understand why, but I think I saw enough of him last season to suggest this guy, play him in the right way, he's going to be a lot better. I really believe that. And also, he used to score fairly regularly for Bayern when he played. I know he didn't play a lot last season, but before that, he had a pretty good minutes to goal ratio. I think he's now been in the men's league for what? How long? How long ago he signed for Bayern? 3 years ago. So he's been playing top level football for a few years, and he's scored goals. I think he's shown he can play at this level, and he's still young. He's still 20. I really think he could be a real good long term replacement for Son.
Yeah, but that's it. It's like I don't know, man. It's just so unknown with Tell because we know he's got the quality. He definitely has the quality, but is he going to come in next year? Can he be our starting left winger next season?
Can he be our starting left winger next season? Yeah. It's tough to say yes right now.
I believe he can have an impact next season, but can he be that guy that we rely on, more times than not on the left wing? I think where he's at in his career, he needs to be kind of, wouldn't say backup, but a squad player.
Yeah, a backup to a number one left winger.
Yeah. And if Son leaves, all of a sudden he could be that number one choice.
But I wouldn't be surprised if, let's say, Son stays and Son's our number one left winger and Tell's backup. I wouldn't be surprised at one point in the season Tell becomes our number one left winger.
I think Tell, I don't know if he becomes our number one winger, but he sees a lot of minutes because we're going to need to manage Sonny's minutes. And I think that would be a really good dynamic to have.
But if he took his chances, he could do it, I think.
Yeah. But, yeah, there's nothing to suggest that he's going to, do that next season, albeit I have said that I think he can get about 15 goal contributions next season. But when you're trying to, replace Son, you need to do more than that. Who's the next one from? The next one is from Dean Fowler, and it says, Timo Tell the new Brian Hill.
Yeah. Brilliant. I mean, bit harsh. But yeah. And then the poll.
Werner,
gone.
I mean, Werner in his first season for us wasn't exactly, he wasn't terrible.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people at the end of that saying, you know what, Timo as a loan deal did all right.
Yeah.
And came back the second time and we were just like, oh my God, why did we do
terrible.
this?
Yeah, I know, he was so bad. But that's Werner, it's a different kettle of fish, isn't it?
The poll that we put out said, are you happy with the Tell deal? 74.9% out of 2,943 votes said yes.
Yeah, look. So a lot of people saying maybe it's not a lot of people saying it's not a popular decision, but according to the poll, most people are quite actually happy with the deal.
Yeah, on Twitter anyway.
On Twitter.
Which is mad because most people on the comments I've seen have all been negative, but then the poll is saying yes, and maybe positive. A lot of silence to people that don't comment too much.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think that's it.
That's it from
Reacts. So let us know your thoughts on those specific situations in the comment section below. We've got a couple more super chats from Crazy Rat. First one says, hi Brian Daigle, I see you in the comments.
Brilliant.
And another one says, I have my eyes on you, Brian Daigle.
We all do. We all have our eyes on Brian.
And there's been a couple more tweets regarding the Son situation as well. From Ben Jacobs. Says, Spurs have a huge respect for Son and won't force him out even if a lucrative bid arrives. And he also said, Saudi dealmakers are willing to pay 40 million euros plus add-ons to acquire the signing of Son Heung-min this summer.
Yeah. But if he doesn't want to go there and Tottenham aren't going to force him out, then I think there's a good chance he won't go to Saudi.
Yeah. But, there was a report, I can't remember who it was, a few weeks ago, saying that Son, didn't he say Son is more open to Saudi now than he was?
More open to leaving, was more open to Saudi?
I thought it was Saudi.
Maybe it was more open to Saudi as well, yeah. So maybe he is.
All right, let's go on to the next segment of the live stream, and we are going to be doing a tier list for you guys today, and so we're going to be tiering the whole squad that is going to be here next season as of now, and this isn't what we want to happen, this is what we think is going to happen. So it's going on loan, definitely leaving, likely leaving,
50-50.
50-50, likely staying, and definitely staying. So the first player we're going to look at is Ben Davis. I think Ben Davis could go, I think he's likely leaving, to be honest. But it could very well be 50-50.
Just sign the deal. There's a few talk, isn't it, with Wrexham. There was obviously a bit of talk of AC Milan. I don't know what's going on with that anymore.
I mean, he didn't sign a contract. The club triggered an extension, in my opinion, to get some money for him.
But then he would have left if we didn't trigger that extension.
Yeah.
So he would have definitely left if that happened.
But we wouldn't have been able to get the money in.
So you think he's likely leaving?
I think so, yeah.
All right. I mean, I've got a feeling he's likely staying, but...
Nah, it's either 50-50 or likely leaving. I don't think it's likely staying.
Yeah,
It could very well be 50-50. And as well, when you're crunching the numbers as well, like, he's got to be one of the biggest fall guys there.
I would say so, yeah, but yeah. It's just a bit more if we can't get the money we want for him. Let's just hope we can.
What is the money we want for him, though? Like, he's got 1 year left in his deal. Surely you just take anything that you can get.
What, a couple million, maybe 5 million?
Yeah, like, even if you get a bid of like 2-3 million, that's 2-3 million that is just extra money for a player that's barely going to play next season.
All right, likely leaving then, but I don't think he's definitely leaving, obviously.
Next up is Radu. I think he is going to be likely staying.
Yeah, you wouldn't put him indefinitely staying?
Yeah,
we did hear about maybe some talks with AC Milan, didn't we? Potentially with his agent.
Yeah, I would say likely staying.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't put my whole house on it.
Yeah,
but I think he's probably staying.
All right, I'll put likely staying. But I think it's one of those where if we do get like a really good bid, maybe I think we would be open to it.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to keep him, to be honest, because I think he's a really good defender, and it didn't work out in an Ange system because that's just not the right fit for him. But I think under Frank, Frank can do really well with him.
Yeah.
So I want to see him stay.
Yeah, but I think I agree with you. I don't think it's guaranteed he's staying, but I think it's more off. It's better than 50-50 that he stays. I think. Yeah.
Next one is Pape. I think that's definitely
staying. I think Frank will really like him, and for sure, I can't see him going anywhere.
Jed Spence.
Definitely staying. You can't see him leaving.
I would say definitely staying, but with his form at the tail end of last season, after being second fiddle to a doggy and a doggy coming back in, his form did fall off a cliff at the back end of last season. Is that?
If we sell him, we're going to get another fullback, another 2 fullbacks, maybe even.
I think in our minds he's definitely staying, but do you not reckon now as the new manager, it's probably a different case. But if Ange was still here, do you not think Jed would be like, well, how am I ever going to be a starting player here?
But he's not here.
Yeah,
well,
I know.
I still think he would have stayed, to be honest. I still think he would have stayed. Especially with Champions League football coming in. Although, I don't want to put any besmirches on Spence's character, but Frank does have a no dickheads policy. Where does Spence fall into that? Do we think he falls into that?
Dickhead.
We don't think he's a dickhead.
Nah.
All right, so we'll say definitely stay. I think he's definitely staying. I can't see a world where he leaves.
What if a bid comes in for him and then he's like, look, I'm going to get guaranteed first team football there?
Is it a Champions League club? How much are they going to bid for? How much do you think we bought him, for 15? So what, we'll demand 35 probably right now?
Something like that, yeah. Let's say a bid of 35 million comes in from a club. Do you not think Spence will look at that, and let's say they really want him, they're going to make him their starting right or left, whatever it may be. Do you not think Spence will look at that and being like, look, I've got Porro and a doggy here. Maybe I'll see some minutes, but I'm not going to be first choice week in, week out.
I think he's belief in himself. He's got a new manager. He's got Champions League football. There's a lot of games to go around. It's not going to be that last season where for the first half of the season he's not going to play at all. It's not going to be that situation next season. He can play left or right back, so we know he's got there. He's in London. He's at a big club. Signed a new contract not long ago. I think he's definitely staying. I just can't see a team coming in for 35 million for him and him wanting to leave unless it's like a big club. I just don't see that happening.
We'll put him in definitely staying. Jed Spence. Next up is Mickey van der Ven.
Give him a new contract, man.
Definite stay.
Has he had a new contract since he's come here?
Don't think so.
You should get one, shouldn't you?
He's on 50 grand a week.
Yeah, he should get one.
Mad. Destiny Adoggy as well, definite. He's definitely staying for sure.
The only thing is there were rumours about City, and if they're serious about him, hopefully he doesn't have his head turned. But I would say definitely staying.
Yeah.
I don't think we entertain a bid from them, to be honest.
No. Is that Pedro Porro?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely staying.
Definitely staying. Porro.
Madison as well.
Definitely staying.
Definitely staying.
Could be new captain. Could be the new captain.
Could be. Next up is Archie Gray. So I would say
he's definitely staying. From what
I mean, there is a potential for loan.
There is, but I think Frank's going to not want to send him on loan. I get the feeling Frank's going to want to keep him around. I think maybe if Ange was still here, maybe he might have. There's a chance because, well, he just didn't really do great last season. But I think new kind of eyes on the situation. I think Frank is... Look, unless in pre-season he decides, okay, he's really not ready. I think Frank obviously was a big fan of him at Leeds. And we know how great he was in pre-season last season. So I reckon he'll have another good pre-season. And then Frank will be like, yeah, I want to keep you around. I think there's a... Or maybe he's likely saying...
Yeah, let's put him in likely. Because I think there is a possibility that Frank
can't
looks
rule
in
it out.
and be,
Can't rule it out.
Next up is Big Vic. There have been rumours of him recently. Apparently an AC Milan move. We have spoken about the potential fits of a goalkeeper that, or the profiles of goalkeepers that Frank likes, and Vicario isn't that kind of profile. I would probably say he definitely stays.
I would say likely.
Yeah, it's...
Although
Can you see him selling him this summer? I think if we are going to sell him, it's probably the following summer.
Yeah, I think that's probably more likely, to be honest. We sell in the following summer. But then I do think if Milan are serious about him, and obviously if they sell Maignan and they come in with an actual serious bid of 40 million, I do think we seriously consider it. But then, would you, let's say next season we go into the season with Kinski, Austin and Keeley. Is that something you'd be happy with? Do you think we can, or do we have to have experience in that position? Because we're losing our experience.
It's a massive
keeper.
risk.
It's a big risk. But then, we always want, we're always saying we want Keeley to give him a chance, and that's probably what it looks like.
What, being third choice keeper? Or
Well,
will he be second
probably
choice
second
keeper?
or battling out Austin.
Be our cup keeper? I think Keeley still needs another loan, to be honest. I think he needs to keep moving up the levels. So I think Keeley will be given another loan. So that probably suggests that Vicario will stay. And if he is going to leave, it will probably be the following summer. Another season under the belt, probably in the Championship for Keeley.
So,
and that makes it a more... and also more development into Kinski as well. So I actually think Vic is definitely going to stay.
do you think if Vic does get sold, we have to sign another keeper then? Or we have to sign another, number one? Or could we rely on Kinski?
I think we'll probably have to sign someone. That's why I don't think he goes. I think he stays for sure.
Definitely staying then.
Next up is Brennan. He's definitely staying.
Yeah, definitely staying. 18 goals last season. Is that Dom or Romero?
That's Dom.
Definitely staying.
Yeah, he's definitely staying.
Can't see him leaving.
Next up is Rodrigo Bentancur. Now, this is an interesting one because there's all been rumours about the contract. He hasn't signed the contract yet. There's been no news of it. There's been news about him, on the verge of signing it, but still, it's just very quiet on that matter.
I think as long as that contract isn't signed, I think it's 50-50.
I agree.
Until when he signs it, it becomes a definite.
Yeah.
But right now, it's 50-50 whether he stays.
Totally agree.
I think it's undecided, yeah.
Yeah, he's 50-50.
Sammy? 50-50.
Kinski, he's definitely staying.
Yeah, definitely staying. He ain't going anywhere.
Son, I think Son...
Is it 50-50 or...
I think it's 50-50.
Was it likely leaving?
I mean, my gut tells me he's leaving, but I still think on the balance of everything, whether we get the right bid, whether the right club comes in, and a talk with Frank, I mean, there's so many different variables that could potentially go into this. So I still think at this moment in time, it's still 50-50.
All right, we'll go 50-50.
Brandon Austin, he's our only club trained player.
Literally, if we lose him, our squad's down to 21.
Yes, he's definitely staying.
He has to stay, yeah.
Dane Scarlett, Justin Cochran's boy.
He is. So, could he be one of the surprises?
Could he be one of the club trained players, or is he still going to be a B-lister?
Well, he's 21. So I think he would be
20,
club trained. Oh, is he 20?
I think he's 20, yeah.
Will he be club trained, or is he a B-list? I don't know.
I think he might still be a B-list.
I think I would still put my money on him going on loan again, but Cochrane, he does know him. Maybe there's a chance.
But is knowing him enough to say that he's going to stay?
No, probably not. I think a loan deal.
Yeah.
I think going on loan.
Decky, I think Decky definitely stays, particularly with the injury. Like, no club can justify signing him right now. Next up is Cuti Romero.
Likely leaving, I'll put him.
Yeah, I don't think he's definite. but I think
it's likely.
leading towards it, isn't it?
Likely leaving. I think he's more leaving than staying right now in my book.
Wilson Odebear, I think he definitely stays. We literally just signed him.
Yeah, he's definitely staying.
Bissouma.
I think Bissouma's on definitely leaving.
Definitely.
But only because, I'll tell you why.
1 year left.
1 year left, and are we going to offer him a new deal?
No.
So from that case, he has to leave. Even if Frank likes him, unless we offer him a new deal, Frank can't turn around and say, let's keep him for a year. And he's going to, so unless the thought is we're going to offer him a new deal, which there's no talk of, he has to leave. So I think he's definitely leaving.
All right, well, Bissouma's going and definitely leaving. Kevin Danso is going to be indefinitely staying.
Definitely, so we just signed him, literally.
Yeah. Bergvall, there should be a tier for him. Above definitely staying.
Give him a new contract, lifetime contract.
Tell definitely staying. Mikey Moore. Oh, Mikey Moore. I got a feeling Mikey's going to go out on loan this year.
You reckon? He's a loner?
Yeah. There's been reports about him going to...
I came out wrong.
There's reports of him going to West Brom or Birmingham. Might be lazy reporting, but I think there might be something to it.
Yeah, loan to West Brom. Yeah. I actually agree. I think a loan deal could do him good.
Richarlison.
I would say likely leaving.
Yeah, with these Callum Wendo links, there's no chance we bring in another striker and Richarlison stays.
Yeah, but there's also reports that Frank likes him, and he's got 2 years left.
Yeah.
So I think it's not a definite, but it's a likely leaving, I would say.
Agreed. Will Lancashire, I think another loan for him.
Yeah, another loan.
Brian Hill.
Definitely. Well, I would say definitely
He's
leaving.
injured, though.
But it's a definitely we want to get rid of him, put it that way.
Definitely won't be in the squad. That's
yeah,
what it is.
so I think definitely leaving. Only because, like, he's not going to be involved. He's, like...
Yeah.
Yes, he might not physically leave, but he's leaving the, Tottenham. You know what I mean?
We won't see him next season.
Yeah, we won't see
that
him.
way.
Yeah.
Heung-min Hyuk, I think another loan for him.
Another loan, I think. Yeah, I agree.
Who's the next one?
Is that Manor? I would say...
I think likely leaving.
Likely leaving. Not definite. I would say he's closer to definitely leaving than 50-50.
Yeah.
But I would say likely leaving.
Yeah, he's just not a definite.
He's just not definite.
Ashley Phillips. See, Ashley Phillips is such a peculiar one because he's had so many years in the Championship now. He's proved his worth at that level. So what do you do with him? There's space in the squad for him, first and foremost. He's not a club-trained player.
Is it a Prem loan, maybe? If we can
I don't even know if he can go on the B list because I don't think he's been at Spurs for long enough.
Yeah. So he'd have to be part of the squad.
Unless you keep him around and don't put him in the European squad and give him minutes in the Cups and the Premier League.
Or do you give him a Prem loan?
If a Prem team
wants it. I think the idea would probably be loan. I think that's probably the idea right now.
I just don't want to send him back to the Championship because I don't think he's got anything more to prove at that level.
Unless maybe a higher end team.
Because like he's gone to Stoke, he's gone to Plymouth, he's had minutes at Blackburn, he's had rave reviews at all of them. Like, what more does he need to do in the Championship?
Yeah. 3 years. But he's still, 19? Or is he 20 yet?
Yeah, I think he's around 20.
Yeah, Prem loan, I think, if
He's 19, yeah. He's actually... His birthday's next week.
Next week?
He's going to be 20 next week.
Right. I hope maybe a lower down Prem loan. But I still think it's a loan. Yeah, I do still think it's a loan for him.
This next one's Alejo.
Definitely leaving, I would say.
Yeah, I would say so.
Definitely leaving.
Alfie Devine, I think another loan for him.
Yeah, another loan. Maybe somewhere in England again.
George Abbott, another loan for him.
Another loan.
Keeley, another loan for him. Dorrington, probably another loan for him.
Another loan.
And Jamie Donnelly. I think he's going to want to look at John Donnelly as well as Devine in pre-season, but I think it will ultimately end up being another loan for him.
Okay, another loan. So not a lot of loan players.
Yeah. So in terms of the likely leaving and definitely leaving, we've got...
Well, in terms of likely staying and definitely staying, how many players are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 we have down as likely staying or staying. So if they all stay, that leaves us with wiggle room for 3 signings, right? Or 4 signings.
18.
18. We've got 18 players there.
Yeah, we can 4 signings.
So 4 signings if that happens. And that means everyone else who's 50-50 or like leaving is out. So that would be a terrible situation. But that would mean we probably need, looking at that or leaving, we would need a left winger to replace Son, probably need 2 centre mids to replace Basuma and Bentancur. And we're also letting go of Romero, Davis, and Romero, Davis, and Richarlison.
Yeah.
So you definitely need a centre back, but then you're not replacing the striker. You're only getting 1 winger, so it doesn't leave us a lot of wiggle room.
Well, you're looking at the centre back situation without Romero is Van der Ven, Danso, Dragusin.
Yeah.
Is there one more in there?
Well, we didn't put Vuskovic. We didn't say about him,
Vuskovic
but we didn't put him there. He could be there, or he could be another loan deal as well.
Yeah, I do think Vuskovic is going to have another loan, to be honest.
So there's only 3. With Romero and Davis both going, you have to sign another. Unless you're keeping Phillips around, you have to sign another centre back.
Yeah.
Even if you are Danso, Dragusin, and Van der Ven, I mean, and Danso, Dragusin, Van der Ven, and Phillips. I mean, is that really what you want to go into the season with?
No.
So you need at least one centre back. If Son's leaving, and Richarlison's leaving,
that's 2 players you need to bring in. That's 3.
And that's 3, and then you're losing Bentancur and Basuma. So unless we're strictly saying Gray's a midfielder who we're relying on, and maybe only sign 1 midfielder, and have him and Gray as that, you kind of have to sign 2, unless it's only one experienced one.
Space for all that.
No, you have to sell another player if you want to do that.
Yeah.
Unless we say Gray's a midfielder now.
Unless Gray does go on loan.
Unless Gray does go on loan. Either Gray's, you rely on him.
You ain't signing Gray for 40 million to send him out on loan, though. That's the thing.
No, I think he's going to want to use him.
Yeah.
So maybe he uses him, and then you sign like a Paulinho, let's say, and then you have Bergvall and Sarr for the other number 8. You've got Maddison and Decky as the 10s, and you just go forward with that.
Yeah. Look, I don't envy the decision makers at this club because it's very, very hard for squad building next season. And I think this just shows you it so clearly.
And this also entails we're losing how many players we have to sell? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 sales. A lot of selling.
Yeah. God. I just don't understand how we're going to do this summer.
And let's say the 50-50s are 50-50 in our favour and they both stay. So we have Bentancur and Son staying. That means the squad is 20. So we have 2 signings if those fall. But that means we maybe don't have to sign a we don't necessarily have to sign a left winger. Maybe that change. If those, that means there's definitely a centre back and definitely a midfielder, I guess. I mean, but then we're not signing another winger or a striker, and we're setting Richarlison. And we definitely have to sign a centre back. So it can't be a midfielder. I don't know. It's a mess.
It's an absolute mess. We need bloody club trained players, man. And in a few years, some of these players can be club trained, but right now they're not. Like in a few years, Bergvall will be club trained. In a few years, Archie Gray will be club trained. And it starts to look a bit better, and we can beef up the squad a bit more. But for right now, for next season, we're in a very difficult spot. So Frank has got a big job on his hands.
It's going to have to be Carl Walker-Peters, isn't it? Going to have to be. Marcus Edwards. Marcus Edwards will cut. Well, Edwards just signed for Burnley, so.
Yeah.
Is Tom Carroll still around?
Tom Carroll.
Is he still playing? We did this list before of all our club trained. Does Carl Walker count? No.
Carl Walker? No, I don't think so.
No. Maybe we signed a bit young. We signed him young. Was he not signed at 18?
Yeah, but didn't he have like loan spells?
He had a loan at Villa, but it was within England. I don't know.
Apparently he's off to Everton, Carl Walker.
Yeah, we're struggling after that.
Dennis Sirkin, Romain Mundell.
Sirkin? I don't know if he was here long enough, Sirkin. Dennis, yeah, someone said Sirkin. Yeah, it's not looking good, bruvs.
I know. But look, that is the state of the squad. Let us know how you feel like we can fit in all these new signings that we want, because we're saying we need this player, we need that player, but a lot of moving parts to this. A lot has to give before we bring in all the players that we want.
The numbers don't fit.
And also, you're talking about selling these players, and when we sell these players, they're going to have to be replaced on top of the holes that we have in the squad.
Exactly. And there's players we're talking about selling who weren't even part of the squad next season, so if they don't get sold, all of a sudden we got another problem.
Yeah.
God. And we only have 3 definitely leavings.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be, so those 4, we say likely, are going to have to be definite.
Out of those 3 definitely leaving, only one of them is considered part of the squad.
Yeah. So those 4 who we're saying likely are kind of going to have to be definites, but part of those is Romero, who we kind of want to say. Oh, God, it gives me a headache doing all this.
Yeah,
gives me a headache.
Squad planning is absolutely atrocious at this football club, and we're going to suffer for it next season. Frank is going to have to juice everything out of these players, literally to the max.
It's part of the reason why it's so unlikely we're going to have a really busy summer unless there are maybe some of those people indefinitely or likely staying are going to be going, but I can't put my finger on who's. I mean, obviously we got the most likely ones who are Dragoshin and Gray, but so how many? So there's only 16 indefinitely staying at the moment. Yeah. 16 definites.
Yeah, but I would say probably it's more than likely that the likely staying are probably staying.
That's why they're unlikely.
Yeah.
God.
Very hard, man. But let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Next up, we got, I think there was another crazy rat super chat that came in. It says, Brian's on Frank, cheers his heart. I see Ange, a work of art. He'll learn someday if he's keen, but I'm with Ange, the winning machine.
Yeah. I thought, well, he is a winning machine. I agree with you on that, Crazy. But I'm not going to be doing it here anymore.
And he also says, subscribe and turn on notification to hear Sim's voice.
Thank you, Crazy.
And last but not least, we are going to react to some of your lovely comments. Once again, We Are Tottenham Army have been super strong in the comments, and let's see what comments they've been sending in to us.
All right, first up. Where am I? We have, Ken Goodspeed 6380 says at 11:50, Grealish is a no-brainer. This is in reaction to our transfer targets tier list. He says Grealish is a no-brainer. All he needs is a manager that plays him in the right position and nor struck on the left wing when most of the players is through the middle or on the right. His passing ability alone would be worth it. Give him the ball and watch what he can do. No-brainer getting Grealish. I mean,
it's definitely not a no-brainer because he hasn't been at that level for a long time now. So, I mean, there is definitely a possibility he can get back to that. But when you're looking at the wages that he's on and the uncertainty surrounding Jack Grealish,
also our lack of squad numbers,
and the lack of squad numbers, I mean, it's hard to think that he'll be a success, or we can even get him in.
Yeah, exactly. I just think I don't think it's a no-brainer. It's definitely something that it's hard to take. And Condon 10 agrees. He says off-the-ball signings like Rashi, Grealish, Garnacho will be awful for us. Werner provided this. Let's be logical. We need someone who can take their man on, finish, and not get injured. Do you really think these guys can do this?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree. I think the one I have probably the most hope for out of that list are Rashford and Garnacho. But I think, again, like, look at Rashford's wages he's on, look at Grealish's wages he's on. Garnacho is going to come in here, and is he going to act all big bollocks and think like he's bigger than the club and demand to start every week? I just think there's just too much going against most of these players, so there's probably no point even considering it.
I agree. I think, I think we need young, hungrier players who we can convince can make an impact. And I know Garnacho is young, but there's a lot of red flags for me. And I think with Rashford and Grealish, big wages, I think you should be paying those big wages for players who you're convinced are going to be superstars and a star for your team and really be something special for your team. And I just don't think right now you can be convinced of that with Rashford and Grealish.
Yeah.
CGet7252 says, I'd trust Frank over anyone else if he picks an unknown over a £60 million player chosen by someone else. His track record speaks for itself. Everyone is an expert until they're not. Leave it to Frank.
100%. I agree with that wholeheartedly, man. Frank's decision is going to be the right decision for the club. And, his track record does speak for itself. He's shown it at Brentford consistently that he can sign these players and make them into stars.
So we're not going to start criticising the club for having to Google players?
It depends if it's Frank's decision or the club's decision. That's what it comes down to.
We're never going to know that, are we?
Yeah.
Volkov127 says it's simple. We are in the Champions League this season, and for us to even compete in that competition, we need players that will make our first 11 better. We don't need unproven in the Premier League or under 20s. Oven-ready players are needed, at least 2 to 3 mid-20s, been there, done that types. It's not really hard to work out. We are a mid-table thinking club. Yeah. I think it's in reaction to the Arnold links.
Yeah, look, it is hard to disagree with that, but just because we think that way, it doesn't mean a player can't come in and flourish. A player can come in and flourish, but history tells us at Tottenham that usually doesn't happen when we sign these kind of unknown players, albeit there are some cases where it has happened. But, I guess in the situation that we're in with Thomas Frank, you've got to trust that Frank knows what he's doing, and if Frank wants a player to come through the door, we have to back it.
But as well, I think Liverpool, if you look at Liverpool's transfer policy, like recently, I know they just signed Wirtz for big money, and they've also signed Alisson and Van Dijk, but people gloss over, like, all the rest of their signings were fairly decent value, but for also a lot of players who are well known. Gakpo was about 45 million.
Yeah, he was well known.
McAllister, I'm saying, he was well known.
Yeah.
McAllister, 40 million.
Yeah.
Gravenberch, Diaz was 50 million. He was quite well known. So, like, those are the kind of deals as well we just don't do.
Yeah, because these players are all commanding big wages.
But how big are their wages?
I'll tell you exactly how big their wages are. I think they're fairly big.
What, are they all on over the week?
Not 200, no. And we could have had a lot of those players, like Gakpo we probably could have had. I'm sure we were linked with
Honestly, Nunes was 70 million.
So Gakpo's on 120. Jota's on 140. Szoboszlai's on 120. Nunes is on 140. Chiesa's on 150. Gravenberch 150. McAllister 150. I mean,
these are the wages we should be paying,
but we're not. That's the problem. We've only got like 3 or 4 players over 100. Never mind 150. So I mean, it is the wage structure that is holding us back. It's not the amount that we spend on players. It's the wages that we give out.
They've got it. Like, Liverpool should really be the club that should be the kind of model we're looking at.
But it's not. The model we look at Brentford and Brighton.
I know, that's what I'm saying. And then I think we'd rather pay for a player like Brighton's level and then incrementally increase his wages than pay for someone like a McAllister. Zakal 76 says Modric was an unknown, Bergvall was an unknown, Son was an unknown, Van de Ven was an unknown, Kane people doubted. You just don't know who's going to make it.
Yeah, I mean, those are the good cases. First of all, I don't think Son was an unknown. Son was, people did know who Son was, playing at Bayer Leverkusen. Having said that, there are loads of cases of these unknown players that haven't worked out, a lot more than the ones that have worked out.
Agreed. So, yeah, it's all good pointing to the ones who are unknown, and then they're much rarer, aren't they? Mark Shark 1613 says we can try all we like to convince ourselves that this Callum Wende guy is a good signing. The reality is that we've done that for decades now.
Yep. The only difference is now that we've got a manager that's proven that he kind of takes these players and does well with them, and the kind of shift in data-led recruitment, which we haven't done in the past. I don't know what made us sign the likes of Nkudu and NG if it wasn't data-led, but the manager is very much a data-led manager with his staff behind him, as well as Johan Lang as well. So you just got to pray and hope that all these guys work together well and bring in players that are going to work with this football club.
Yeah, I think, look, we're going in a new direction again with Frank knows, and his scouting team, well, the scouting department he used to work for had a very good record. So let's hope if he's identified someone, you got to be confident that they can be a good player for us. The known guy 2221 says Spurs fans, Semenyo 16 goal contributions last season, insane, perfect, crazy, good, pay 70 million for him at any cost. Sonny 22 goal contributions last season, playing out of position, garbage, terrible, he's washed, sell him for cheap now. What the F is wrong with this picture? Is there do we have shiny new toy syndrome when it comes to people like Semenyo, and when you compare it to like what we have with Son?
I mean, I don't know, because I've been saying all stream that I prefer to keep Son than bring in Semenyo. So, I mean, I can
But a lot of fans get excited about Semenyo.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to get excited about new signings coming through the club, but a lot of signings that look, there are a lot of players that we can potentially upgrade on, but I just don't know if Sonny's one of them.
The known guy again 2221 says it's utmost ridiculous for anyone to want to sell Son for 30 million and then use 50 or 60 to get Grealish, Garnacho or Tell to replace Son. Sonny was horribly used by Ange and still had 27 and 22 goal contributions in the last 2 years, and none of his replacements can get half.
Exactly, that's what I've been saying. Exactly what I've been saying. Like, if Son's gonna leave, you need to bring in someone that can get as many goal contributions in him, or you have to get a couple that can share it around and get to those levels. And do we have that at Tottenham? I mean, we don't know, because we're going into a bit of unknown with Thomas Frank. Like, Thomas Frank got 20 out of Mbeumo, 20 out of Wissa, 10 or 11 out of Sade. So we need something similar to that next season.
Jacob Bannister 4130 says, stop saying he would have loved a player like that at Brentford. We are not Brentford. We have bigger aspirations than Brentford, as well as a bigger budget. Frank did a good job at Brentford, yes, but the job he did at Brentford would get him fired here at Tottenham.
Yeah, which is true. Which is very true.
I think I've said he would have liked a player like that at Brentford. Not in the case that means he's good enough for Tottenham. My point being is, obviously, at Brentford he overachieved with limited resources, and he's had to really get all the kind of quality he could out of that team. And when I say he would have loved that, like, he would have loved to have had a player like that at Brentford, because in terms of the quality, it's a lot more than we would have had at Brentford. And so he brings that over to Tottenham. That kind of quality, hopefully, like, would be a good amount. And hopefully, if he gets more quality out of him, or gets as much out of him as possible, maybe it could be good. But I understand what he's trying to say. Obviously, just because he's good enough for Brentford doesn't mean he should be good enough for Tottenham. I agree with that.
For sure.
And last one, Daniel Hewson 8866 says, delighted with Tell signing. He impressed mightily at Bayern and is still only 19-20. Yes, he's raw, but he's very talented and needs development, coaching, maturity. But trust me, we're not going to regret this signing as we did Vinicius and Fernandes. This signing cannot and will not have a serious impact on other signings. Well, it kind of already has, because it just limits the numbers naturally. But then, you've obviously decided to bring him in, but it can't not have an impact on other signings because you've picked a squad space for him.
Yeah.
So that already impacts the potential other signings you could have made.
Exactly.
But doesn't mean it was the wrong thing to do.
Yeah. Also doesn't mean it was the right thing to do. I think time will tell, won't it? Next season, if we see a replication of what he's shown at Spurs so far over the whole course of next season, no one's going to be happy with that. If he does kick on and Frank does get the best out of him, like some people are predicting, like I think he can, do a lot better, it still might not be good enough. He needs to get a hell of a lot better next season if it's going to be considered a success.
Well, Not necessarily.
Yeah, it will.
Huh?
It will.
I mean, I'm saying over next season, he has to get a lot better, yes. But he could get, I don't know. Yeah, he has to get, okay, fine. But I'm saying over the long term, he doesn't have to hit Sonny levels next season for it to be a success.
No, but he has to hit. I mean, he kind of. It's his task pretty much. If Sonny is going to go, it's his task to replace Son next season. That's what he's going to be judged on as well.
But that's not what his whole career is going to be judged on at Tottenham. I mean, that's what next season is.
Yeah, but we're a Champions League team next season, and if he doesn't hit Son levels, it's probably not likely we'll be a Champions League team the season after.
Maybe. Yeah, I get what you're saying. It depends on what other players are doing as well.
Yeah, of course. There's
but
loads of variables
facts,
that go into it.
Yeah, I'm saying, but
tell him.
I don't think if we've signed Tell on a 6-year deal, I don't think his time with Tottenham is going to be defined by what happens next season, unless it's such a major disaster that we have to sell him. I don't think it's going to be defined by just next season. I'm hoping anyway it won't be.
Well, it will be at the end of next season.
At the end of next season it will, yeah, but that's just one season. But I'm saying in terms of whether the signing has been a success or not, that will be determined unless it's next season there's a major disaster.
But at the end of next season, it will be defined on next season. At the end of the season after, it will be defined on that season. Like, that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
So we got a long wait to actually define him completely when it's all said and done. But he's still going to be massively judged on next season.
He'll be judged. I'm not saying judge on whether he's good or not. I'm just saying thinking about this signing, like what you're saying is you're kind of going into his next season, he's going to be judged whether this signing was a success based on how much he improves next season. I don't think it's necessarily true. I think next season will be judged on that, but the whole signing, I don't think he has to hit exceptional levels next season for the whole signing to be judged a success or failure necessarily.
Yeah.
Is my only point.
But yeah, it's true in terms of the general output. But if he doesn't have a good season this year coming, then we're going to be sitting here in the summer saying, you know what, we need another left winger.
Yeah, true.
So look, that is your comments. That is the stream for you guys today. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Hopefully we get some more news a bit later on and we'll bring you another Tottenham update. But as of now, that is it. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.